I mean, look, let me tell you this. Being a mob boss is a tough job. There's no question about it. You could look at reality. It's not the best job in the world to have. You constantly have to be dealing with your men and the troubles and the aggravation that they bring you, and it's constant. Trust me on that. You're dealing with, bosses of the other families. There's always disputes going on. You're always a major target of law enforcement. It's a tough life. You're in a position to be deciding sometimes the fate of the people under you. It's a tough thing. Wanting to be the boss, you better be prepared for it in that life. And that's why not too many of them make it all the way. Hey everyone, welcome to another Sit Down with Michael Franzese. Hope everybody's doing well. All is very good, very blessed on this end. And as always, we give God all the praise, honor, and glory for that. What are we going to do tonight? I've been asked this question, and it's some of you are going to say, come on, Mike, we're not ready for this, but maybe you are. What are the differences between The Sopranos and Tulsa King? Now, somebody going to say, come on, Mike, Sopranos is iconic. It was the first real mob TV series, and I agree with you on that. But there are some similarities, and I think we have to be a little bit fair to Tulsa King at this point. Let me get into it and tell you why, and I'll compare them on a couple of different levels. But the writer and producer on both shows was a fellow by the name of Terrence Winter, brilliant writer. He was the lead writer on The Sopranos, I think, from season 2 through season 6. So he had a lot to say about The Sopranos. And he is the main writer on Tulsa King. There's going to be similarities there. It's a mob story, the same writer. Think about it. And Terrence was born in Brooklyn, so he's got a great feel for the characters. He's terrific, great writer. He's done so many things. I think he wrote The Wolf of Wall Street, among many others. Look him up, he's terrific. So as a result of that, we got two good shows. Listen, everything starts with the writing. Trust me on that. It's all what's on the written page. It's all about the script. The writing, that's where everything starts. And if the writing is good, people can get into the characters. It's casted right. You got and of course, the director. But it all starts with the writing. So let me get into this a little bit. Let's make believe, that Tulsa King and Sopranos started at the same time. Because, of course, Sopranos was 6 seasons. You're really into the show, really into the characters. I don't think anybody liked the last episode. I think David Chase took a hit for that. Nobody liked the way it ended, especially, unfortunately, that Gandolfini passed away. But we don't know what happened. And I think David Chase stands by that ending. A lot of people didn't like it. I didn't like it. I like when things are kind of wrapped up. We didn't get it wrapped up in that last episode. But, 6 brilliant seasons, let's face it. And Tulsa King obviously is in its first season, almost near the end. It was renewed for a second season. Make believe they both started at the same time. So you got a kind of like a clean slate. They're starting equally. Let me tell you this. As far as authenticity is concerned, let's go to the main thing in the show. I've said this 1,000 times. If there was ever a mob boss visiting a psychiatrist on a regular basis and telling, his issues to the psychiatrist, that mob boss would be in the trunk of his car by the end of the week, along with the psychiatrist. You just can't do that. It wouldn't be, forget it, accepted in any way, shape, or form. Why? What is he telling the psychiatrist? What is she getting out of him? Is he talking about our life? Is he naming people? What's going on? Can't be talking to a psychiatrist. Now, some of you are going to say Frank Costello spoke to a psychiatrist. Yeah, okay. For what? A little bit? It might have even been a ruse for something that he was doing. We don't know. But it wasn't on a continuous basis. Obviously, he didn't give up anything. So don't compare it to that. I'm telling you, if on a regular basis a mob boss or anybody in the mob was visiting with a psychiatrist like that, it would never happen. They'd be in deep trouble. They wouldn't last, guaranteed. When you look at that, because that was central to the story of The Sopranos, when you look at that, well, that whole thing was unrealistic based upon that alone. Now let's go to Tulsa King. Stallone, who's a character bigger than life, and if they would have started at the same time, Tulsa King would have had the advantage. Why? Stallone is bigger than life already. Bigger than life. As soon as he gets into the role, he's bigger than life. Not the same with Gandolfini. He created that character and became bigger than life as Tony Soprano, and well earned because he did a brilliant job. But okay, they start at the same time. Now you got Tulsa King. You know, what's the character? Stallone is playing Dwight Manfredi. He gets out of prison after 25 years, stand-up guy, doesn't give up the family. In the first scene, we see him coming out of prison, and he goes to visit the boss, you know, back in New York. And what happens? Basically, they ban him to Tulsa. Rather than rewarding him for keeping his mouth shut and doing 25 years, they tell him, you're out of here, and we're going to give you Tulsa. Well, come on, what do you mean give you Tulsa? There's no mob in Tulsa. And why would they have to send him to Tulsa? It was silly, you know, when you think of it that way. But it was a great concept because, look, when you come with another mob show and you're bringing it to a network, a streaming platform, a cable network, you got to give a different take because so many of these things have been done already. For that premise, come on, it would never happen. A guy's not going to come out after 25 years in prison and they're going to ban him to Tulsa unless he did something wrong. So there and again, fresh take, great for the networks, enjoying the series, but would it ever happen? No. So as far as authenticity, you'd never see a mob boss visiting a psychiatrist, and a guy that does 25 years of heavyweight in the family would never be banned to Tulsa. So in that regard, forget it. However, for the storyline, it was great. He's visiting a psychiatrist. You know, the relationship Tony had with the psychiatrist was crazy, wasn't it? Okay, so that was good. And now him coming out to Tulsa, you know, Stallone coming out to Tulsa, great. He meets his guy, you know, the guy that's driving him around. He gets into the marijuana business. He's fighting with a biker gang out there. So it's all great stuff. It really is. Very, very entertaining. Now, let's go to another comparison, I would say. Family. You know, I say this, with The Sopranos, the interesting part of that story for me was the relationship that Tony Soprano had with Carmela, his wife, his children, Uncle Junior. You know, that was the main part of the show for me, the most interesting part, because a lot of times you think that mob guys don't have a normal family life. Well, you know, in many ways it's not normal because we're criminals and we're out there doing stuff that we shouldn't be doing, but you still have the same issues. You got the same issues with your wife, you got the same issues bringing up your kids, sometimes even more than normal people. I mean, I didn't grow up in a normal household. My dad was always under investigation. We had cops around us all the time, surveillance all the time. My dad getting locked up, going to jail, visiting him here, going on trial. My sisters and brothers, you know, a mess it turned out to be. So it wasn't in any way a normal childhood. But again, you know, same family issues. My mom and dad had their struggles. My sister kind of had resentment for my dad for being away. So a lot of this stuff happens, and I found that very, very interesting in The Sopranos. It was my favorite part. The relationship that Tony had with the guys, not all of it was realistic. A lot of stuff was kind of made up, but the characters were great. Don't get me wrong. The characters were great. The interaction among them was great. I mean, look, a writer has got to keep creating a storyline. These are fictional stories. Sopranos was based on some reality, but basically they're fictional, so they got to keep making up these storylines. And these writers are brilliant, you know, and all these TV series today, so many of them, they're just brilliant in what they do. Tulsa King, okay, same thing. 25 years. He was estranged from his family for what? 18 years. Now he's fighting to have a relationship with his daughter, Tina, who is very resentful of him, and he's trying to patch that up. You saw Sly with his sister. She welcomed him, but you see, it's not the same. How could you be gone that long and have, you know, a solid relationship? It's impossible. And what happens? You know, his brother dies, not while he was away, but when he had just got home. So he couldn't continue the relationship with his brother. So right now, there's a struggle for him to get with his daughter and his grandkids. So there's going to be a family struggle there too. And I certainly relate to that. I really do in many ways. That's kind of true stuff in there. You know, people, no matter what walk of life you're in, you have a family situation. And when that's played out dramatically and played out well, both in film and TV, you know, that to me is very, very interesting. So those things are kind of authentic in that regard. The business of the families. Well, you got to say that in Sopranos, it was a little bit more realistic. So what's Tony doing as the boss? Well, he's got to keep control of his crew. He's worried about informants. He's worried about power struggles, guys coming home from prison that are resenting some of the things that he's done. The FBI is on top of him, the normal stuff. So that, even though it was made up and was fictional, it was the real kind of goings on that the mob boss has to go through. So that was pretty realistic. And the characters were great. I mean, I thought, many of them were great. I related to them. Christopher was a great character. I thought his girlfriend was a great character. All of them were great. They all did a great job. Again, Terrence Winter brilliantly in developing those characters, and the other writers. There was more than Terrence on the show. Tulsa King, the same thing, a little bit different because he's out in Oklahoma, cowboy country. So what is he doing? He develops his driver, that's a great character, whose father wants him not driving with Dwight because he wants him to go to school, get an education. But now he sees his kid becoming a gangster. We see that relationship great. Stallone is worried about the Irish gang, that he's got out there because he was kind of moving in on the marijuana business there. So we're seeing different characters in Tulsa King that are going to be developed. But the show is becoming very interesting. But, in that regard, similar but different. And let's talk about the character of Tony Soprano and the character of Dwight Manfredi. Gandolfini versus Stallone. Well, they're not really at odds with each other. We're not trying to compare them in that regard, but they were both brilliant characters. And Stallone is now really, in my view, fitting into the role of Dwight Manfredi. He's becoming that mobster. Started off a little bit, not that he did wrong, but I'm starting to, get a feel for him a little bit. And I think he's really settled into that character, and he's doing a great job. And I like the way he presents himself. Look, again, I'll say it, he's bigger than life on screen. He's doing a brilliant job. And I think if Tulsa King had 2, 3, 4, 5 seasons, you might see very strong comparisons between the two shows. And I know I'm going to get some blowback on this. Come on, Michael, how could you say that? No. Well, remember, a lot of people are saying, Tulsa King is not authentic. Don't think The Sopranos is that authentic either. There's a lot of things that I can point out. Again, the number one being a psychiatrist, that's really not authentic at all. Don't look at it in that regard. You're not watching a documentary. And on the other hand, too, Tulsa King has some humor in it. There's humor in that show that I'm enjoying. And let me tell you this, Dominic Lombardozzi, for those of you that are following Tulsa King, there's a switch now in his character. In the first 6 or 7 episodes, he had a wig on. Didn't even look like him. But now he comes down the stairs after his father's passed away, and he's now the boss, and he's taken over the family. And you see a change in his character. Dominic Lombardozzi is a brilliant actor, and he's brilliant in these roles. And I'm excited to see how he develops now. And obviously, he's at odds with Stallone. From day one, or from the first episode, you saw that there was some jealousy there. So this is starting to get deep. The characters are starting to be developed in a very deep way, and I'm enjoying it that way. Tony Soprano, come on. I mean, he was brilliant. He's always fighting with somebody. I mean, look, let me tell you this. Being a mob boss is a tough job. There's no question about it. It's a tough job. And look, you could look at reality. It's not the best job in the world to have. You constantly have to be dealing with your men and the troubles and the aggravation that they bring you. And it's constant. Trust me on that. You're dealing with, bosses of the other families. There's always disputes going on. You're always a major target of law enforcement. It's a tough life. You're in a position to be deciding sometimes the fate of the people under you. It's a tough thing. Wanting to be the boss, you better be prepared for it in that life. And that's why not too many of them make it all the way. So, I just wanted to bring it up because a lot of people are asking about it. Michael, what do you really think about the series? And, they're comparing it to The Sopranos. And, it's a little bit unfair at this point. We've only had, a season, not even a season yet of Tulsa King. But I'm telling you, it's developing into a very, very good series. Similarities, Terrence Winter, the writer on both. So give it a shot, give it a chance. Season 2 has already been approved, so Stallone will be back. I heard that. And I think that there's going to be a lot of talk about this. It's going to be up there with Boardwalk Empire and Godfather of Harlem and Sopranos. You're going to be mentioning Tulsa King with the rest of them. It's that good. So that's it for today. How do I always leave you? Same way. Be safe. Be healthy. God bless every one of you. I'm really hoping it's a great 2023 for everyone out there. I think it's going to be rough. You know, we still got to get this economy back in shape, and you know, we still got some things that we're going to have to deal with politically. We know that, but hopefully things will get on track this year. So again, be safe, be healthy. God bless every one of you. And yes, I'll see you next time.